Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at AMD. It is time for another update, and today we will be discussing about the latest developments in this area, these latest pushes to the upside, since we managed to extend higher and we may be on the path to forming a 5-wave structure to the upside. Now we will be discussing the relevant areas of support for the continuation higher, especially within this area. But before we get there, I would like to go quickly through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new. And here we are tracking this larger 1-2 setup, where now of course we are looking for a follow-up wave 3. Now within this wave 1 to the upside, I am tracking it as a leading diagonal, which means that we do have the possibility of forming an impulse here overall, and we would be actually tracking an impulse within the wave 3. Now in this pattern that has so far formed to the upside, we have actually, and quite unfortunately, a number of ways that we could be tracking it, and it is unfortunate because it makes it all the less clear. But yeah, unfortunately, none of the patterns that we could be tracking in this area work too well. They all work fine. I have many interpretations, but none of them fit too well. And the only thing that they have in common is really that they kind of all expect to form a 5-wave structure within this area, this push to the upside. Now, within what interpretation and what scenario that plays out, it may differ also based on what type of 5-wave move to the upside we end up forming in this area. But once we manage to have this movement complete, we may be able to determine with a higher precision what type of structure we are tracking here on the larger time frame. At this point, as long as we are tracking this internal structure to the upside, I don't believe there is much of a point to concerning ourselves too much within what type of structure really has occurred here. We do have some ideas, and I have presented many of them in the previous videos, but right now I believe we can focus within this internal structure, where we have still a couple of scenarios, and we can start with the green one, which is probably the most simple, where we are actually tracking a possible reset within this correction to the downside, where sure, this may have been the entire correction within the larger trend, and we may be on our way to new highs to the upside, but I could also easily argue that this may be just an A wave down, that we are forming now a B wave up, and that we are still to form a C wave to the downside, within which we could even end up to new local lows within this area. And within this wave B, at the moment it is quite simple for me to track this as a possible ABC pattern complete, and yeah, in that case we may already be on our way to the downside. Then we have the yellow interpretation, in which we are tracking a possible generic wave 1 top in this area. Again, could work out within an ABC pattern, and in that case I would probably consider this either a leading or an ending diagonal. Yeah, it would be an ending, not an ending, a diagonal pattern overall in either case, but we would be watching out for a pretty considerable area of support, which could be proving to be quite interesting between the $165.5 all the way down to the $100 level at the 78.6% retracement. And then we have the white interpretation, within which we have here a possible wave 1 up, a wave 2 down, and then we would be tracking a larger wave 3 to the upside. This is the small time frame count that I am tracking for a more direct continuation higher, while the yellow interpretation is probably more of a mid-term one. Yeah, this in white is what I am tracking for a possible, still a diagonal pattern, but in this interpretation we actually have the wave 1 top here, and then we have a wave 2 bottom here, and we are already pushing in our wave 3 to the upside. And in that case I would be watching for a top in the near term here within the wave A. We possibly have one already, but at this point I'm not quite convinced. And in that case, I would consider the area of support for the correction in the wave B between the $213.8 all the way down to the $169 level. Now, if we are to really look for a 5-wave structure within this movement to the upside, I could actually easily see still an extension higher, where I could allow for this to be something like a 1-2, then this could be a third wave up, a fourth wave down, and now we could be looking already for a fifth wave to the upside, Well, that may be applicable, but honestly, the movement, the pattern is quite choppy, and I'm not even so convinced that this should be considered an impulse. And in fact, I would probably be tracking this as a diagonal pattern, and I would probably be watching out for a movement to have already started in an extension here for a new wave A, and the areas of support would start from the $233 level, so we have already reached it. But again, it's not something we will be focusing on. It is on too small of a time frame, and the structure is not anywhere clear enough. We can zoom in and try to track here a possible ABC pattern to the upside to complete this larger 5-wave move, yeah, but it would be quite a fragile setup, and in the end it is probably for the best to still track the idea of a larger wave B still to form. Now, if this really ends up being an ABC pattern to the upside, which does seem to have actually quite good chances, I would be probably watching out for an ending diagonal within this wave C. So here in the very short time frame, we may be able to track an area of support for a wave 4 correction. Yeah, here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this would be a very small degree. And in that case, we can notice that we have already pushed against the first level of support. We had an initial reaction higher. We are looking for the third wave down. We are probably heading towards the second level of support, and we can track to see if we manage to find here a bottom within the wave 4. But we need, however, to allow an extension all the way down to the $247 level. Now, if I were to be looking for an ideal target here to the upside within this ABC extension, we can notice that we have already reached the 100% extension of the wave A. I would be looking next at the $123.6 level, but it is worth noting that we should be careful here in this very tiny small time frame pattern as well, especially because it will end up being an ending diagonal within this wave C to the upside as well. So we only need an ABC pattern within the 5th wave to really fulfill the expectations within this very small time frame structure. But again, I generally recommend staying away from these patterns. We can track them, we can have an idea if we have some positions of where we may find more likely tops and where we may find probably or probable breakdowns, for example breaking below the area of support in this case. But yeah, for now I believe it is best to zoom out, and in that case I will be watching out for a possible ABC pattern to extend here within the white scenario. Now, if we manage to push still higher within orange, we can watch out for the next move up. And once we have that, well, we have a possible ABC pattern to still form and allow still a higher extension. But for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover. And I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.